Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Fringe Coverage. This podcast profiles the stories, swings, and stars of the LPGA Tour. And whether you're brand new to women's golf or a longtime fan, hopefully this podcast helps you develop your own rooting interest in women's professional golf. And we're just coming off a crazy Ryder Cup Sunday. Pretty exciting watching, at least for a Sunday. The prior 2 days, not so great. But as always, I'm joined by my buddy Tom. Tom, how's it going, man?
Great. I had a fun time watching on Friday. You and I got to hang out. We watched I'm pretty much from start to finish together, right?
Yeah, I think we might have been the reason why it wasn't a competitive Ryder Cup. Maybe we shouldn't watch things together because that was an absolute boat race of a Friday.
I have never heard the term boat race used as much since my days of the rain gutter regatta in Cub Scouts. You use that like I was like, Mark, what? A boat race is a good thing? What? It's a verb.
Wow.
You use it as a verb.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. You got
Explain.
crushed, you got destroyed, you got boat raced. The etymology of it, I'm going to be a little bit hazy on. We'll offline on that one, and I'll give you a full description later off air, if for no other reason than to not fully just embarrass myself on air. But we'll get you
You
we'll
know what?
get you
You
a full
know,
origin
a
story.
conversation I have with my kids very often is don't say something unless you know what it means.
Yes,
So
Dad.
your kids are too young, but a lot of kids these days do the 6, 7, which is just complete nonsense. And I go, what does that mean? And they go, I don't know. I just hear everyone else say it. So that's my last bit of chastising for you this week.
Had I not been with you on Friday, I would have been asking you right now what the heck is 6-7, but you gave me just an absolutely confusing as heck explanation of what it is. Still don't know what it is, but I won't
So
make you
I did a good job.
I won't make you repeat it.
It means
But
nothing.
we're look at us already. We're so already off the rails. That's a really good start. A couple minutes into the pod, but yeah, pretty exciting. Look, we won't do a deep dive here on the Ryder Cup, but what I will say, is, I think I said this to you on Friday. Man, am I ready for the Solheim Cup? I got a lot of texts this weekend from people that were watching the Ryder Cup that know we're doing this LPGA pod and some interesting takes on, man, that would never happen in the women's game type stuff, specifically as relates to some of the Bethpage crowd stuff that was going on and some of the taunting that was happening of Rory and
That was
how
deplorable. I mean,
it
just
was.
it has no place for the game of golf has no place for that kind of stuff. I mean, I like as we've talked about, I like cocky and brash players. I don't like that from the fans.
No.
Like you have no reason to feel like that way, and especially to try to get into people's heads by just being just an awful human to a player. Because here's the thing, I mean, I'm talking about the way that they treated Rory and his family.
Mm,
Rory's one of the most popular players on tour.
yeah.
So 51 weeks out of the or even what 103 weeks out of 2 years, everyone's
Yeah.
all in for Rory.
Yeah.
And then this one week you're gonna start like disparaging him and his family throwing beer. It's just come on, man. I mean, I kind of found myself flipping and rooting
Oh,
for Team Europe. I mean, the only reason I root for Team America over Team Europe is because hey, I live in America and it would be kind of cool to see. But the European team is infinitely more likable than the American team.
no
So
doubt. I mean, look, I will always root for the US and I think you said it best. Like I'm not even sure I have great reasoning why sometimes. Look, Bethpage has been circled on the calendar for a long time as people saying, look out, it's going to get out of hand, which, in my opinion, only gives Bethpage fans the carte blanche to do exactly that. Like everyone said, like, yeah, just get ready for it. It's how it's going to be. And so everyone's like, okay, well, that's how we're going to be because everyone's expecting us to be that way. I think Rory said it best in his presser after the after Sunday's round. Look, he's been asked a lot this week about the fans, and he had every opportunity a lot of different times to just sound off. And while it probably might have maybe not made him look great, he would have been justified to do it. And he hasn't always done this, but he did take the high road this week, and not just get caught up in the fray and just said, "Look, was it over the line? I'll let everyone else be the own judge of it, whatever." And yeah, he made a couple comments on the course to people that went too far, and there's clips now surfacing of stuff being thrown at his wife, and just outrageous stuff. But what he said in the post round presser on Sunday was, "Look, why are you not rooting for your team? Why is the focus about how much you can heckle the opposing team? Like this is golf. And again, this is all Rory saying this. This is me paraphrasing him is this game you were raised with etiquette and how to be polite. I think there's so much built into kind of what type of a person you should be raised to play golf. And golf usually brings out the best in people with those regards. And this weekend certainly did not do that. And he's like, why are you not like the reason people always say it's Ryder Cups in Europe are amazing and their chants are amazing is they're chanting about their players. They're chanting about Francesco Molinari and Tommy Fleetwood as a pairing and coming up with not only cute names for them, but songs and things that people are. The joke is like, is there a 10,000 person text thread that nobody knows about? Because they're all in unison. And then you come here and it's people just saying one of three things USA, Scotty Scheffler in the form of like a pregame NBA chant, like Scotty Scheffler, or excuse my language, F you, right? Like that's the extent of what America's creativity is because everything focuses on the other team. And it's look, I don't want to throw New York completely under the bus here because New York is not Bethpage Black. This is a very small subset of people that made their way there. And who knows how many of those people even are from New York, right? Ryder Cup's an expensive ticket. A lot of people probably traveled in there to get there. But to your point about flipping, I wasn't the proudest American those days. Like I was embarrassed. It's like, yeah, this is the look we're gonna have continued in this Ryder Cup. So again, we're not gonna do the birdies and bogeys of this tournament. It was a very exciting Sunday, one that was not anticipated after just an absolute blowout the first 2 days. But the Solheim Cup, I will kind of put a bow on this in a segue to the LPGA. I think we mentioned this on the last pod. The two Solheim Cup captains, Anna Nordquist of Team Europe and Angela Stanford of Team USA, were on the first tee and were on the grounds for the tournament all week, really getting a taste of what kind of the larger scale version of their event looks like, right? I wish that wasn't the case, but the Ryder Cup is the Solheim Cup, just on amplified, turned up to a million. And I was really glad to see them. But let me say this as loud as any of our however many listeners we have at this moment. If there's one thing you can clip and go shout to anyone that can hear, is Luke Donald and Keegan Bradley better be on the first tee next year at the Solheim Cup. These women are not only there to support you, they are also there showing you they need yours. And it is not a heavy lift. Keegan Bradley, your aunt was a captain of the Solheim Cup. And I'm getting heated as something maybe Keegan's already planning to do. But man, they better be on that first tee and give a platform to this women's game to take off because they would do anything for the men's game and they follow it and they love them and it's not a heavy lift. So I would hope next year when they're overseas that the PGA Tour has a presence at the LPGA's flagship team event. So it was good to see Anna and Angela out there and hopefully they learn some good stuff from it and it's going to just turn up the Solheim Cup even more next year.
Do we know that Keegan will be the captain in 2027?
No, no, we don't. And that will be a discussion now. Again, a very different discussion of whether the Sunday singles matches maybe saved his captainship because he came out and said he did a lot of things wrong. And some of that's falling on the sword and some of it's just real and Keegan being Keegan. But
But to your point, yes, I think that would be obviously a great sign of unity for them
yeah,
to return the favor and go to the Netherlands
yeah.
and
And,
show out
and,
for
and look, I have
America.
no idea what the PGA schedule looks like that week, but anybody that can be there from the men's side, I think it really would be a boost. I mean, I saw Tracy McGrady, Vince Carter, and Carmelo Anthony were at the first tee yesterday. Like, let's get some of that on the women's side.
Oh, that's the new broadcasting team for the NBA now. Now that they moved
Oh,
to
really? Is that the
ABC,
tie-in?
I believe. Yeah.
There you go. Well, we're we're in the
Fun
home
fact, real
stretch.
quick. Did you
Yeah.
know? I just learned that this morning. So obviously Victor Hovland, he had to sit out because he was injured. Did you know that that's not an option in the Solheim Cup?
No, what does the Solheim Cup do?
You can see the point. There's no halving. So
Again, I don't want to dive too deep in the Ryder Cup, but I like that. I like that.
yeah,
Makes no sense to be injured and you get half a point. I'm not saying you have to concede it, but I would like a better solution than the current one. So I'm glad the Solheim Cup's already doing something better than the Ryder Cup.
couldn't the entire European team just sit out and say, "Oh, we're all hurt, half all of them"?
I mean, sure. Do you want to go down that route? I don't
Say
know.
your fans weren't being very nice to us. We're all hurt. We're all sitting out and just taking the win.
And we'll take the W. Well, if they had all sat out, they would have scored more points than they did yesterday if they all
Right.
got half concessions.
Yeah.
So maybe they missed an opportunity there.
Anyway, we
Um,
digress.
You know what? No, this is all additive. This is all additive. But where we find ourselves now is the home stretch of the LPGA season. So we referenced this last time. There's only so many open field events left. They're about to head out on the Asian swing. They are this week in Hawaii, which we'll do a tournament preview at the end of this episode. But this is the mad dash for trying to get points for the CME, trying to wrap up your LPGA Tour card status for the following year. Lot riding on the line here. And again, we're coming off a week where we had the rain out in Arkansas, so excited to have some golf back. But we figured this is a good time to do a bit of a live look into some of the key awards of the year. There are three. There's plenty of awards that happen throughout the year, but the three ones that I always seem to circle every year, first and foremost, the Rolex Player of the Year. That is the number one player that is strictly points based. It goes off the Rolex ranking, so it's just weighted for this year. The only difference is Rolex rankings overall have a rolling 2 year nature to them. The Rolex Player of the Year is specifically to the 2025 LPGA season. Unsurprisingly, the leader right now is Gino Titicun. You're going to hear that name a lot as we go through some of these award lists, but Gino is leading that. But to give you an idea of the top five, I will list these names off, but there was some pretty heavy separation after the first two. Gino Titicun, number two, Minji Lee, number three, Miyu Yamashita, number four, Mao Saigo, and number five, Rio Takeda. Anything stand out to you about that list of five, Tom?
Uh, a few. One, no Nelly. Two,
Very,
Rio as a rookie is in the top five.
and Miyu's a rookie as well. So,
Yeah.
so, and to add to that, three of those five are Japanese. The Japanese are coming, man. Like Mao won a major last year. Miyu and Rio have had amazing rookie seasons, which we're going to talk about them in a second when we talk about rookie of the year. And then you go up and you'll one of your favorite player candidates, Minji Lee, with her major certainly got a lot of points, but Gino's head and shoulders above. And this goes back to her level of consistency. While she's only won once, she continues to top 10 her face off. And she just elevate her floor is so much higher than everybody else's. Maybe with the exception of Nelly, which is interesting. But Nelly's not going to be on the Rolex Player of the Year list without a win because you just get so many points for that. And so she, again, you're going to hear her name on some of these other lists. But yeah, I think you're right. The very astute observation to start is there's a very glaring omission from that list being Nelly.
Mhm.
That's a good segue into the Bear Trophy. So the Bear Trophy is the annual scoring average. So on any given round, what is your scoring average? Whoever has the lowest scoring average of the year wins the Bear Trophy. Unsurprisingly, Gino is leading that. She has her average scoring round is 69.16. So she's literally averaging just about three under par. Like that's just her starting level. That's her average, which is bananas. There are three people really with a chance at this one, and I'm not really sure how tight the math gets here, but the top three are Gino, Nelly, and Minji. So again, Gino and Minji also in the Rolex Player of the Year. Nelly is only about 6/10. She's 69.7 on that scoring average list, 6/10 behind Gino. This will get pretty dynamic down the stretch depending on how everybody plays. But let's just pause on that for a second to say Nelly has the second best scoring average on tour, has not won, and is not anywhere on the front of the Rolex Player of the Year watch list. Nelly is, and that scoring average, by the way, better than last year's for Nelly when she had 7 wins. Back to our conversation
Is
with
there a
Graham Curtin.
minimum tournaments needed to be played or anything like this to make this list?
Yes, yeah. So like people like Lottie wouldn't be on this list because they haven't qualified enough. But yeah, it's kind of like in baseball, you have a minimum number of at bats. I don't know the number offhand, but there's a pretty significant number of starts or rounds you have to record. Again, Gino, Nelly, Minji, they're kind of the class of the tournament right now. Nelly being the exception because she hasn't had a win yet this year. And then the final award to look at, we mentioned it, the Rookie of the Year. This is called the Louis Suggs Rookie of the Year Award. This is A, very hotly contested, B, heavily Japanese when you hear this list. And then there's one name that is shocking to even be on the list. Back to your question about number of starts. So right now, leading Rookie of the Year, Miyu Yamashita. Again, she's also in the Player of the Year award race. This, for those of you that don't remember, Miyu won the AIG Women's Open earlier this year. Hot on her heels, Rio Takeda. Miyu just passed her like this past month, so they've been going back and forth. Behind her, Chisato Iwai, not the EY I thought that would be in third, or leading between the two EY twins. In fourth is Akie EY. Yes, and fifth is Miranda Wong. Uh, Pretty impressive
Question for
list.
you: is this like the Rolex where there's no subjectivity? This is just
Correct.
your
It's
numbers.
points. It's points.
Okay.
How'd you score? So, and in this case, I think I like that for rookie of the year. I don't necessarily need rookie of the year to be an impact player or someone who did something like I'm okay with it. Just the golf does it. I think there's some subjectivity on some of the other awards, but this one I like. What I was going to flag is I read you the top five. Honorable mention number six, Lottie Woad. And while that shouldn't come as any surprise because Lottie's been playing amazing, you asked the question about minimum number of appearances. Lottie has only had five professional starts, five starts, and she is sixth on this list.
Right.
Suffice to say, I think Lottie would be running away with this had she had a full calendar year under her belt.
So does this mean that she is now eligible for it next year?
I don't know. That's what I think that's a good thing for us to effort to answer next time, Tom, is whether or not she burns her rookie year coming in mid-July, or if there's a minimum number of starts. Because there's a lot of people that were by far the best rookies that didn't win because they waited for their NCAA season to be done, right? They play
Hmm.
through May, June, and then they turn pro. I don't know when whether that's a number of starts or it's a once you're in, you're in. I'm not sure about that.
Like a handful of years ago, there was the whole Ben Simmons, Donovan Mitchell thing where Ben Simmons missed his rookie year. He was hurt, so then he came back the next year and won it. And well, are you really a rookie if you were drafted 2 years ago?
Did you just call that a handful of years ago?
I don't know.
What
When was
year
that?
was Ben Simmons a rookie, bro?
Give me a year. I got you. Give me a year.
I
Ben
mean,
Simmons first overall pick. What year?
so we're saying if we're calling a handful of years would be under five, in my opinion. I would say for sure Simmons was a rookie well before that. So I'm going to say Ben Simmons is like a 9 year vet.
Yeah, drafted in 2016. Well done. And I thought
Woo!
I was the
Hot
NBA guy.
up. Man, you're getting old, son.
Ugh. So one of
Okay,
the things that I call me a millennial, I don't know. I love awards, and I'm not a participation award guy, but like in hockey, I always bring it back to hockey. There's like 12 awards. There's MVP and best
sure.
forward, best defender, best rookie. They have, do you know that there's an award for the best combination goalies? So if you like the pairing of goalies that give up the least amount of goals.
Don't waste my time. That's a participation trophy.
Right. It's one of those,
Hey, great job
the
being a backup. That's what we're talking about right now.
yeah. Like, do you know
Yikes.
who scored the most goals in which pair of brothers have scored the most goals in NHL history? It's like Wayne Gretzky and his brother, and Wayne Gretzky
Oh,
has
got
like
it.
99% of them. It's
Got
stuff
it.
like that.
Those stats are funny. They don't need an award for it.
But give me like the best putter award or
Yeah.
best strokes gained. And you know what, Mark? This is a future segment for you and me to do.
Okay. Yeah,
All
we
right.
can do our own awards. Yeah, we might. And all right, fans, we're gonna give you something right now. I like that, Tom. Fans, give us some submissions of what we should call these awards. Leader in the clubhouse, the obvious. If you're following things like The Office, is uh, call these the fringies or something. But give us a fun name, and if there's any categories of awards you want us to give out, but whether they're statistical or fantastical, let us know.
Oh, there's going to be so much production for you to do. I want drum rolls. I want, all
Hey,
this kind of stuff for you.
people don't know that I'm the one that does the production. Maybe you're the one. Maybe you're the brains
I think
behind
it's
the
pretty
production.
obvious here.
Okay, so that's the awards watch list. Now, we mentioned that there's a lot of points up for grabs here down the final stretch. Figure it's a good time to do a check-in on the CME top 60, who's in, who's out. As a reminder, the CME Globe Championship is the season-ending tour championship where the top 60 players and ties, which there's never ties, will advance and play in this for a giant, giant purse. 4 million was last year. I don't know if they increased it at all this year. There are a lot of people that are on that cut line right now. It's still a pretty dynamic cut line. So the names we're going to read off that are either just, the first five in or the first five out will not be the same next week. The top of the list is pretty well cemented, the Genos of the world, but there are going to be people who are, you could be outside the top 100 right now and still make the top 60. That's how much a win or a top five could mean. And as Tom has asked, this is all points based. There's no subjectivity to this. So you play well, you're going to start climbing the CME. So some obvious stuff. Gino is leading, and not only is Gino leading, she's dominating. Gino has a huge lead in the CME points list. A couple notables of just names that may surprise you where they are. Without a win, Nelly is still sixth in the CME. And again, there's no rolling. There's nothing, there's no past historical 2024 data in here. This is just what have you done this year? And Nelly hasn't won, and she's still sixth, which means her floor is pretty high. We've mentioned her a couple times. We're going to spotlight her in a second. Lottie Woad is 34th. May I remind you for the second time today, Lottie Woad has only played five tournaments as a card carrying member of the LPGA, meaning everything else before that does not count towards this. And she's already 34th. It doesn't hurt when in your first professional start you win, but that's pretty gnarly. Now, who's inside the top 60? We won't go through this whole list, but there's a couple that I think the LPGA audience out there might be interested to hear about. First off, Lexi Thompson is 50th. Again, Lexi Thompson announced her retirement last year, and there's been a lot of jokes about whether she's actually retired or just playing a condensed schedule. You do not see Lexi very much, and I'm very curious what happens. I don't know if Lexi makes the Asian swing, but Lexi is someone sitting at 50th that could easily fall out if she doesn't play much between now and the end of the year. But for someone who announced her own retirement, pretty impressive that she's still top
Hmm.
50. Not sure that sounds like someone that's retired to me. A couple interesting ones. Sarah Schmelzel last week, she was leading after round one of the Arkansas event. That, as a reminder, that rain out meant that that was an unofficial result, so she doesn't get any points. So she stays at 44th. That would have been a big bump for her. She was on her
Oh
way
yeah.
to a good week, so that stunk for her. And then just a couple other larger scale. Allison Corpuz is 49th. Allison's only a couple years removed from a major win, and she has not played to that level here recently. Hannah Green, awesome person to cheer for from Australia, currently sitting at 53. And then I'm going to jump a little bit to kind of right now, number 60 is Jenny Shin. And to give you an idea, this is all points based, and Jenny's sitting at about 409 points. So to give you an idea, number 50 is 600 points, and number 70 is 319 points. So everything's kind of in this 100, 200 point range, or there's probably some volatility of jumps. Some names that are just outside the top 60. Number 61, Julia Lopez Ramirez, who I've been talking to you about, who I think is going to be someone you like a lot. She
Hmm.
is the first person on the outside looking in right now. She is at exactly 400 points. Lilia Vu at 64th. That's a tough one, man. This is a former number one player in the world, major winner, has had some really tough back injuries. But last week, she looked good at Arkansas for the one round she played. So I'm hoping that she can parlay that into kind of a flurry here down the stretch. Gabby Ruffles, another really fun person to root for, 67th. Grant Boone shouted out someone he thinks should be your favorite player, currently number 75 in the CME, Pauline Rousson Bouchard. She's number 75, but again, she is within shouting distance of that top 60 if she has some good turnouts. One that will surprise a ton of people, Rose Zhang, number 77. I think everyone assumes Rose is Solheim Cup player, came out of the gates run hot just like Lottie did. Rose has not played well this year and has played her way out of the top 60 by 17 spots. So Rose is going to have to get on her horse if she wants to make that top 60. And then finally, Georgia Hall, again, one of my favorite players from the UK, really good friends with Charlie. She's down to 106 now. This is a Solheim Cup stalwart for Team Europe. Really bummed to see her kind of lose form here recently. So again, there's a lot of names that I skipped there, but some interesting stuff to watch as we move into crunch time here.
So the CME Tour Championship is November 20th, starts then. So are we saying every tournament leading up to that, all of those points go toward their ranking?
Correct.
Okay.
So there are seven tournaments left, either six or seven before CME, and those all count. Now, remember, not everyone gets to go on the Asian swing.
Right. So that's tough. So, you have to make hay while you can. Oh,
Exactly. There's a lot of stress here. In a future episode, we'll look at it if anyone who's maybe in danger of losing their card, their tour card, because again, that's not top 60. Those are people that we'll kind of dive into those criteria. But that's what's going on for the top 60 watch. So, Tom, I'm going to pivot us a little bit here. I think you had, before we go into a Lottie Woad deep dive here, I think you had a little question segment you wanted to dive into.
so I am in the market to buy a new club. I want to buy a five wood. As you know, love my driver. It's a fairly new driver. I have a Callaway driver that I really like. My three wood is an old Cleveland that I use sparingly. I've started to use it more often than I used to. I want a five wood. Do you think it really makes a difference? Like, should I be getting the same clubs? So, let me back up. obviously all my irons match, right?
Yeah,
The
you got a
exact same
blended
line and
set. Yeah.
everything. Does it matter? Do I need to get the same line of 5 wood as my 3 wood, or should it be the same as my driver and I have to eventually upgrade my 3 wood?
It's a good question. You're not going to like the answer.
Ooh, tell me I got to spend more money and time on golf clubs because
Yeah, let me call your
I
wife
like
and
that
tell her
answer.
that first. Um, Tom, what really matters here is distance and what your gaps are, right? And what you're trying to accomplish. So before we get into why you're saying 5 wood, to answer your direct question about how you choose these clubs, in theory, the reason you have one iron set is because you have consistent gapping between them, right? So if you hit a 9 iron 150, you might have an 8 iron that's 165. You might have 10 to 15 yard gaps between them, and it's very consistent across it. I imagine as you get into your long irons, there's a point where you get to 4, maybe 3 irons somewhere in there where all of a sudden you have diminishing returns in the difference from your 5 iron to probably what you're calling a 5 wood, right? I assume
Mhm.
that's why we're talking about this.
Yes.
Okay. So it's more a matter of what's the last iron you hit with comfort and what's that distance?
A 5 iron, I'd like to say 200 yards.
Okay, good. So if you're flushing it, you're hitting it 200. If you're thinning it, you're still going 185, 190. Yeah, something like that.
Sure.
Okay. So what do you hit your 3 wood?
See, that's the thing. I will probably break out my 3 wood, if I'm 230, around 230.
Okay, and are you hitting that off the ground and off the tee?
I rarely hit it off the tee, mostly off the fairway.
Okay, because there's very rarely a hole where if you're hitting 3 wood that you're not hitting driver. Okay. So from what I hear, 3 wood to 5 iron gap at best is 30 yards, at most is 50 yards.
Yeah, that sounds about
Okay.
right.
So if you were gonna split the middle there and try to go 20-yard gapping, and then you probably want a 210 club is what you're looking for,
Hmm.
210, 215. In theory, that's what you're going to look to find. So if you can find a 210, 215 club, it don't matter what the brand is if you're closing the gap you have. My caution to you is thinking you know your yardages and not actually knowing them because I
Well,
went
that's
through
a
this.
big thing.
We have a
And
mutual friend who did a club fitting for me about 2 years ago, and I got all new clubs, and I kind of made the mistake of saying, "Oh yeah, I hit my 7 iron 165, 170," and realized, yeah, your best ever is that, but you sit around, 149, 152 or something like that. And it very much changed the way I looked at my gaps, and we found some very obvious gaps. So the reason I'm bringing all this up is you have a decision to make of whether you want to invest in a 5 wood or a hybrid or a 4 iron five. There's a lot of different ways to look at that. Specifically with a 5 wood, that's the lofted club, right? A lot of people feel comfortable pulling a 5 wood out of the rough, whereas a
mhm.
3 wood looks a little funny the way the club head sits. That's where I would think through what it is you're trying to get out of this. And that's why I asked the question, are you hitting it off the tee or are you hitting it out of the rough or the fairway? What type of utility do you want this club? Or is this, well, if I want to be on a par five, I'm expecting to hit the ball dead center of the fairway and I've got 215 in. I don't want to have to choke down a 3 wood. I just want to be able to hit a nice clean 5 wood right off the short
That's
grass.
the scenario I'm envisioning.
How often does that scenario happen that you're sitting in the short grass on a par five and you have 215 in versus is the more likely scenario you've got more than 215 out, but you're in a bad line, you need a lofted club because you know you're not going to pull 4 or 3 iron, right? You're going to just hood the club and get knocked down. That's why I say I've never hit a hybrid, but I've always been interested in having one because it feels like a little bit more utility. So again, you kind of have to go with whether this is just a straight yardage play or whether it's a rescue club.
Right. Well, I appreciate all that. I mean, the highs and lows of, hitting a drive 270 and feeling really good about yourself, and then getting to your ball and you go, I don't have a club to use now. I don't know what I'm going
Right.
to do on this next shot. And that's just, I always get pretty upset about that. Like I messed around with a driving iron, which was just an absolute
Oof.
abomination.
Yeah, it's
I
tough.
I remember like you looked at it one time, and you go, is that a putter? It was just, it was almost vertical. I couldn't do a thing with that, and that got tossed pretty quickly
Well, I might go on
on
this
the
journey
course
with
and in the
you.
garbage.
Uh,
Um,
let's go on this journey together because I have to do the exact same thing.
Mark, let's
I
go
you
get fitted. Let's go, not fitted. Let's go get our stock yardages. Let's go to a place. Let's get our irons and our woods and everything and see how far we can hit balls and
Okay.
actually like write these down.
Well, and I mean I've got mine because I went through that fitting, but I'm like you in the sense of I
Yeah,
hit
but
that
that was
five
two
iron.
years ago. You're older now. and
Yeah,
weaker
so
probably.
I'm older, stronger, all that stuff. Yep. I had the same gap problem you do. My wife actually gave me a gift certificate to a club company to be able to go pick up a club, and I don't know if I want a wedge or if I want to find and close the gap between my 4 iron and my
Yeah.
3 wood because I also don't have a 5 wood. But yeah, that might be a fun thing to go do is just try to see what those gaps are because I guarantee you, A, we don't know our yardages like we think we do, and B, I think there's probably way more selection out there than we thought.
Yeah.
So
As you know, I have a birthday coming up, so I have to figure out like,
yeah.
my wife's trying to figure out what to get me. So I will lift the embargo. You're allowed to text my wife just this one time, and you
Okay.
can let her know what club to get me.
Why doesn't she just get you a gift card so you can go get fitted and choose the one you want? I will never, my wife knows never to buy me a golf club because I don't play consistently enough to make her feel confident in a decision for a very expensive golf club. She's like,
Yeah.
when you have time and you're going to play golf, go get fitted and then to pick it yourself.
The bad thing for me is because I'm going to get, the top of the line 5 wood, and then I'm going to say, oh, I hit this as far as my 5-year-old driver. Now I need a new driver.
Yeah. See, you and I do that differently because I'll just go to like a local discount store and find the rack that has like everything on sale. Be like, oh, this feels good in my hands. I'll just buy this.
That's what I should do. Smart move. All right.
Good question. I like that stuff.
Thanks.
Okay. So, Tom, you very creatively named this episode Lottie and the Lotte. We are going to do a player profile here of Lottie Woad. It's time. Lottie's been making some noise right around. We started this pod right around the time Lottie started making noise, and it's time. So I think Tom, you've got some background on Lottie for us.
So Lottie Woad is from Farnham, Surrey, England. She's only 21, so you've
Sheesh.
referenced a few times, very young for the tour, and this being her first year is even more impressive. She's also one of the taller players on tour. She stands at 5'8". The
Oh wow,
average tour player is 5'6", so probably gives her a little bit more reach on her drive. She was tied for sixth on tour in average driving distance at 270. So
270.
when I
Okay.
referenced earlier that I hit 270, that's probably not true. But that number was just stuck in my head.
Yeah, she said average. You said average for her. That's your peak.
It's a great point. Yeah. Yeah.
Very different.
Um, in 2022, she won the Girls Amateur Championship. 2024, Augusta National Women's Amateur, reached number one in the World Amateur Golf Rankings in June 2024. She won the KPMG Women's Irish Open in 2025 as an amateur. And as you said earlier,
By 6 shots.
ooh,
By 6 shots.
mm. And as you said earlier, the first tournament she played in this season, the ISPS Handa Women's Scottish Open, she won. So
Nuts.
nowhere to go but down after that. I mean, what an entrance, right?
I
Uh,
mean, if we can zoom in on that just for a second, just that sequence of events that you just outlined. So you mentioned April of 2024, she wins the ANWA, the Augusta National Women's Amateur. So and by the way, she birdied 3 of the last 4 holes to do it at Augusta. Like that's gnarly stuff.
mhm.
So that's April of 24. Like pay attention to these dates. May of 24, she finishes second in NCAA champs behind Adela Chernusik. That was at Alme La Costa, that me and my daughter went to. June of 24, she becomes the world number one, right? So this is all like a 3 month span. August, 2 months later, as an amateur, she finishes tied for 10th at the AIG Women's Open at St. Andrews, still as an amateur, by the way. And by the way, I'm going to go back between amateur all
I
the
was
time.
just gonna point that
It
out.
drives me nuts, man. I feel like I would say amateur, but I watch enough golf that people say amateur that it somehow through osmosis makes its way in every now and then. So I'm just going to get ahead of that and apologize in advance to say I'm going to say them both. Okay, so that's August of 24. Now, fast forward to this year. July 6th, you mentioned she wins the KPMG Women's Irish by 6 shots on the LET Tour. Again, she's an amateur. She has status because of through an exemption. 7 days later, she goes to the Evian, another major as an amateur. So again, she can't earn cash or anything because of her status. She misses the playoff by 1 stroke and finishes tied for third and had an awesome final round. Again, all this as an amateur. This is 7 days after the Irish that she won. 2 days later, she turns pro on July 15th. 12 days later, she wins the ISPS Handa at the Scottish Open in her first career start, which was she's the third person ever to win in her pro debut. She won 300 grand in that event, said she wanted to buy a car, and it came out she doesn't even have a driver's license. So I find that very funny. And then August 3rd, 6 days later, she finishes T8 at the AIG Women's Open, where she was the betting favorite going into it. This is someone who at the time had played three competitive professional rounds, and she went in as the betting favorite. And all of that, starting from when she won the Irish, was July 6th to August 3rd. That was less than a month that I just rattled off to you.
Wow.
Sheesh.
So she played golf at Florida State.
Yeah,
So I was going to ask you about this because I noticed that a lot of golfers, both men and women, play collegiate golf, right?
yeah.
Now, is that usually the most common path toward the tour?
It is. It is. I always find it interesting, especially for the international crowd, of where they land. Like, I think it's interesting. Victor Hovland went to Oklahoma State, or Julio Lopez Ramirez goes Mississippi State or Ole Miss.
And
And
John
like, there's a
Rahm
lot of
is Arizona State. Is that
who's
right?
that?
John Rahm?
Yeah. So like the Europeans, and again, there's a lot of recruiting that happens over there, but a lot of SEC schools end up getting a lot of this talent. Stacey Lewis went to Arkansas. Again, she's local. She's an American, but there's a lot of powerhouse SEC golf. And somehow I'd love to know the back end of how these coaches recruit internationally and what those
Of
programs are
course.
to lay eyes on them and to recruit them. I don't think it's hard to recruit them to the States just because that's where the LPGA is, and there's probably a desire amongst the behalf of those young amateurs to make their way out here. The vast majority go to college on the women's side. Very few make a jump, and if they do, it's a couple years into college. No one skips college. There's no Kevin Garnett happening here.
Right. And that's obviously the pathway for football, basketball. Is that a tennis thing? I really don't even know.
I don't know that either.
Hmm.
You know what? I bet that one's more of a mix. I don't know what the international route is. I don't know that the internationals are coming to the States because the men's tennis tour has such an international flair. I don't know that you need to make your way to the States for that. You could probably still continue to train wherever you're originally from and make your way through their kind of your own domestic ranks.
Cool. All right. Any fun facts about Lottie you got?
Man, so let's just put a bow on this. She's only made 5 starts
Hmm.
as of today, and I don't think she's in the field this week for at Ewa Beach. I'm not sure. But she has five
Maybe
career
not.
starts. And again, this is as since she's got her card, right? Like she has made starts before them, but it was as an amateur. As a professional, she has 5 starts, and three of those are top tens. She's three for first five. Again, this is just everything we're going to say about her is silly. The way she got her card, I think, is worth discussing. It's a brand new system that the LPGA came up with this year. So it's called LEAP. It's an acronym for the LPGA Elite Amateur Pathway.
Oh, I love an acronym.
I know you do. So this program provides the top amateur golfers with a path to getting LPGA Tour membership. So, like everything else with the LPGA, it is points based. Amateurs who accumulate a minimum of 20 points within a certain set of criteria in the given year, and I think the previous X number of years, it might be 2 or 3. If you get your 20 points within that time span, within that criteria, you earn exempt priority list, which is the top type of card on the there's different like thresholds of LPGA tour cards, like full status, partial status. You get full priority status if you get those 20 points. And they unveiled that program this year, and Lottie was the first, she'll be the first graduate of the LEAP program, basically. And she did it in very short time. And so I imagine some of that criteria she's going to get are she probably gets points for winning the ANWA. She probably gets point for getting number one amateur status or things of that nature. And probably I wonder if she gets points when she goes on tour as an amateur and has a
Hmm.
finish, if that plays into it at all. So she wrapped it up at that when she went to the Evian. I mentioned that she finished T3 there and was one shot out of the playoff. That finish got her final 20th point to get her full exempt status. So that's why we're talking about her now as a pro because she earned her status on Evian. And that's why I said 2 days later she turned pro because she was able to because she had the points. You can't just say, oh, I'm going pro. And it doesn't work that way
Hmm.
most of the time. So that's how she got on. We mentioned it. She is a very strong wedge player. If you look at the strengths of her game, she's really good tee to green. I think all around, she's not an exceptional putter, but I think she's still an above average putter. But I think she's a very clutch player. Her wedges are dialed, and this is where this is my take on Lottie. You and I mentioned when Gino and Charlie were battling down the stretch. I don't know. I said, I don't know that I have that much confidence of Gino or Charlie standing over a 10-foot putt to win on 18. I don't know that they have that killer mentality. They might make it, but they don't make me feel super confident when they're standing over it. I think Lottie's the biggest killer on the LPGA tour, period, hard stop. I spent the better half of the last 2 days watching a lot of Lottie Woad interviews in between watching the US try to make a Ryder Cup comeback. Lottie's not here to make friends. Lottie is very business. I think people would call her a boring interview. I think she kind of has a dry, witty sense of humor, but she probably holds it to the people that are close. And when people say, "Hey, does this surprise you that you've had this much success early on?" She's like, no. And she's not being an asshole about it at all. She's just saying, like, no, I mean, I've been playing LPGA events for a long time now. Now I just have a tour status. A lot of people are saying women are more uh, the women in this day and age on the LPGA tour are far more competitive when they first come out than ever before because they got to go play Augusta National as an amateur on nationally televised. It's the biggest event of the year on the amateur ranks. Like they're kind of fired, they're kind of fire tested, right? Like they're
They're ready for it.
truly, they're ready for it, right? They're here to win. They're not here to just say, oh my gosh, I get to play with Nelly Corda, right? And I think they have those moments, but she's 21 years old and she's already on her way to trying to win the CME Group Championship at the end of the, and she deserves to be there. I think Lottie, not only is Lottie here to stay and all the stuff I think any person with eyes would be able to say, I think Lottie might be the Grim Reaper. Like Lottie might just come for people. And I really want to see her just start taking people on next year. I'm gonna put it down now. Lottie's gonna win a major next year. Um,
You're buying stock in Lottie.
Oh, yeah. Like I'll take all my Lotte stock and give it to Lottie. Like this is she's a real deal, man. A couple because of Lottie being a somewhat guarded interview, there's not a whole lot out there about Lottie off the golf course. Uh, a couple notes golf related there's pictures of her hitting, plastic golf clubs when she was 2 or 3 years old, like there are with a lot of kids. She specifically got her first golf lesson when she was 7 years old, and the person who gave her that lesson is still her coach today.
That's cool.
I love that. I don't think I've heard that before.
I mean, how many
She
commercials did we see of Scotty and his
right.
coach during the
Don't
the
get me
Ryder
started on
Cup?
commercial coverage of the Ryder
The
Cup.
same thing.
Um,
Yeah,
but it
we
gave
need to
you
talk about commercials, Mark. You got any more takes on commercials?
no.
No.
Although it did
Good.
give you and I a lot of time to talk on Friday
That's
because
true.
there was no golf
Too
being
much,
shown.
yeah.
Um, she grew up watching her favorites, kind of understandably, where she grew up, Charlie Hull, Georgia Hall. Her favorite golfer is Justin Rose. So I'm sure Lottie had a really fun time watching Justin Rose ball out the last 3 days. He ended up getting taken down in the singles match yesterday, but he had a really good round. So that's her favorite golfer. She is a couple of just random notes for her. She dislikes condiments, Tom.
Oh,
She prefers her sandwiches straight plain, like just ham and cheese, nothing else, just straight dry bread, and very, very committed to that take.
there are rarely facts that you like. This whole podcast is geared toward me finding one of my favorite golfers.
Yeah, yeah.
This is the opposite. I haven't heard a stance like this that really turns me against somebody. Anti-condiment?
Right. Now again, she grew up in the UK, so I mean, look,
What is
America's a
this,
condiment.
amateur hour?
We're well played,
Ketchup?
Mr.
Hot sauce? I mean, hot
So, and
sauce?
again, a lot of these questions were in reference to her college teammates talking about her and saying this is how she eats a sandwich. I'd be curious when you start expanding what it is we're putting condiments on, what her takes are. She also wasn't raised in America where we put condiments on everything. Like the UK
Right.
historically has like boring food that don't need condiments, right? Like it's going to be a lot more like meat, like shepherd's pie, things that are kind of one meal.
Yeah.
So, but
Well,
yeah, it
you can
sounds like
take
she's
those dry meals, those room temperature waters, get them
yeah.
out of here. I'm Team USA. I'm back on, baby.
um, she grew up, you mentioned she's tall. She was an athlete growing up, not just golf. She also played soccer and cricket. Um, and is a if there's one thing I have seen Lottie be passionate about other than golf in interviews, she's a massive Leeds United fan.
Okay.
So I know you follow soccer much more, at least than I do. But Leeds is her team. She gets into shouting matches with her college teammates when she was at Florida State. They fight about it. Um, but that's kind of the one time I've seen her passionate, which, sorry, this is a bit of a tangent. You asked the question about the typical route to the LPGA and whether they play in college. I wonder how often it is an international player goes and plays a couple years at a college and then goes pro and doesn't finish their college. Like how much of it is just a straight route to the LPGA? Whereas like
Sure.
Rose Zhang has she went pro and she continued to go to Stanford and is getting like it's actually so between injuries and her school load, she's not actually committed herself to the LPGA tour yet. I'm
Yeah.
curious when someone like Lottie, was this just a stepping stone to play LPGA? Like I don't know if she's still enrolled at Florida State. I'd be very curious, kind of the breakdown there. When we get her on the
That's also
pod,
something
we'll
you can go
ask her.
back and finish later if you need, I guess.
Yeah, that's what I got on Lottie.
Great.
It's funny. Usually we have a much longer take, but she's only played 5 professional tournaments, right? So, but as we've said, she acts like she's been here for years. She seems way more confident than half of the people that are teeing it up next to her. Very excited to see how she plays down the stretch, and certainly on the Asia swing because I think Lottie's game travels. I don't think there's a style of golf she can't play. Like she loves playing in the wind and the elements, obviously when they're overseas, but she's already proven herself on American soil as well. So I think, man, talk about someone I don't want to run into at Solheim Cup, Lottie Woad. Like, just
Right.
give her 4 or 5 points right now. Like, Lottie's going to be a beast, unless she's hard to pair with. That would be the one thing is if she's hard to pair with, I think Lottie's going to do damage. All right. From Lottie to the Lotte, we have golf again. First off, this week is the Lotte Championship at Iwa Beach in Oahu. Let me start here. This tournament starts Wednesday, Tom. It is not a Thursday start. This tournament goes Wednesday through Saturday. Alim Kim, defending champ, played really, obviously, really well last year. $3 million purse. Another good purse out there on tour. A couple notes about the field. We mentioned it earlier. Gino Titakun is not playing this week. I imagine she's already back home in Thailand getting ready for the Asia swing. And I think you will note that this is not the strongest field that we've seen in recent weeks. I think that Arkansas champ really hurt them. I think a lot of players were hoping to have that be their last start before they went to the Asia swing. As we mentioned, some people lost some point opportunities because of it. A couple just larger name notes. Nelly is playing for the first time since 2021, and Charlie's playing for the first time since 2019. So good on both of them. Super exciting for the people on the island, right? To be able to see. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter whether you're in Arkansas, Singapore, Hawaii, or LA. Like anytime players are rolling into your town that are marquee names, which hard to beat Nelly and Charlie right now, right?
Mhm.
That's really good. We mentioned it. This will be live broadcast for it's a 3 hour window, Wednesday through Saturday, 4 to 7 p.m. Pacific. So again, they're out in Hawaii. So what is that? 1 to 4 p.m. Hawaii time for those of you that are in Hawaii. But some late night golf for those of you on the East Coast. That's going to be 7 to 10 p.m. So you get to watch some prime time golf Wednesday through Saturday. And now, Tom, it's time for picks. How did we decide who goes first
Whoever lost the week
the week
before.
before? So it's still me because last week's
Yep.
get canceled out, which I think probably did me a favor because I don't think Akie was going to beat Ayaka after that first round. Um, I'm going to ask a question before I give my pick. Tom, if I take someone off the board, are you allowed to take them?
What do you mean if you take the? Oh, can we have
If
the
I
same person?
if we have the same pick,
No.
you have to go another direction.
Yes.
Good. So the streak's going to continue, and it's Nelly. Was that your pick, Tom?
No, not my pick. Because
Good.
last week I decided to change it up, and I said I kept picking somebody who had already won, and I said it's gonna be a repeat. It's gonna be a repeat. It's gonna be a repeat. And then I finally said, you know what? The golf gods are telling me just pick somebody new. It's not gonna be a repeat. And then what happened?
Rain
We
out.
got a rain out. So I'm going back to it. We're doing a
Wait, you're going
repeat.
back to what?
We're doing a repeat. I don't want to have any
What if
more.
your pick caused the rain out?
That's what I was worried about. I'm going Miyu Yamashita.
Oh, I like that. Okay.
Yeah. So we did talk about this last time. So you cannot repeat a pick, but are our picks from last week back on the board since the tournament never
Sure,
really?
sure.
Okay,
Ayaka and
good.
Akie, you can. respectively can pick. I've not kept track of it. I'm sure you have kept track of it somewhere. So if I pick someone I've already picked, let me know. Man, I have trouble believing Nellie's not going to win this week. She's got the second best scoring average on tour. She's overly due. She's coming off a lot of rest now, as everyone's coming off rest after another rain out. Some good vibes in Hawaii. Man, she can't go an entire year playing this good and not win. If she was playing bad, this would be an easy thing not to pick her. But
Yeah.
she was in every award watch list we just went through. This is it. I think at some point Nellie's going to win, and we're both going to say, "Of course she won." Like, how did we not pick her that week? It's going to happen, and I'd rather at least take my swing early in the season. Next year
I'm
will be
saving
fun
her.
when we have.
She's my silver bullet. I'm going to use her later when I need
I was going to
a
say,
win.
it is going to be more interesting how we choose to do picks moving forward, starting next full season when we have a full slate ahead of us. We kind of plan out, do we want to keep the same, hey, you can only use them once, or do you want to go back to the well or have some rules around you can only pick a player a certain number of times? Because remember, there's a lot of LPGA events. And if we get towards the end of the year, or we're at some point, we're just going to pick people we don't think are going to win. I don't think
Hmm.
that that's fun. So, again, any of you with ideas of how Tom and I should structure year long picks, fringecoverage@gmail.com. Shoot us some ideas. Um, Tom, anything else on the Lotte? Well,
No, that's about it.
that's all I got.
Cool, man. If you have suggestions for players or topics to discuss in the podcast, send an email to fringecoverage@gmail.com. Follow us on Instagram at Fringe Coverage Pod to watch Mark get into fights with toilet manufacturers. You can.
Do you want to give a little bit of clarifying context to that for the listeners, Tom?
So Mark and I, again, we were together on Friday, and we were brainstorming ways to advertise our new episode. We wanted to post something on there saying, "Hey, we're having a new episode." We really went off the rails. We were having some fun with it. So we were saying, "Oh, why don't we get a picture of a toilet with a fountain, coming out of it in the middle of a lake on a golf course?" So Mark was able to get a picture of all this, and then we posted it on Instagram and we tagged Toto USA because we thought that would be funny. And then Mark and I started having some real podcaster's remorse, and we said, like, well, we don't want people to think that we are speaking ill of the LPGA and we have a toilet on this. So we were, trying to figure out what should we do? How can we backtrack? Should we get pictures of Jabberwockies and Squid Game characters on a golf course instead? And then we said, as we normally do, we were overthinking this a little bit. And,
I was
we
I was take I was taking us too seriously. Let's call it what it was.
we did some valid hashtags. We put a clip of, the toilet and then a nice little audio clip. And then we tagged Toto. And then Toto came back and replied something funny and then said
They
hashtag
no, they made a golf joke to start. They said a bidet as a fountain, that's not up to par. Like it was for our standard. Like that's they played along. It was fun.
good stuff, yes. But then they more or less called us out saying that we thought that Squid Game was Japanese. And it was like,
That
no, no, no. If you actually listen to the episode, we are saying that Squid Game was for the Korean tournaments, not for the Japanese tournaments. And this is our first time of getting bitten by, people not listening, just seeing it for face value and jumping on us.
just a
So
bunch of
Mark had
clickbait.
to go back and say, no, no, no. We are very aware that there's a difference.
This was
And
great though. I mean, this was exactly why we did this is like on a whim. We're like, oh, let's tag Toto Japan or Toto USA because we were suggesting ideas for their tournament on our
Mhm.
last pod. We played that audio for them. But the reason they went off the rails with us is in our hashtags, I gave Tom the reins to our social media account. I think that's where this really went sideways. And Tom tagged Squid Game in an audio clip that doesn't directly reference Squid Game. So if all they listened to was a social media thing, and they saw that we tagged Toto and Squid Games, they perceived it as we thought Squid Games was Japanese. Of course, we do not. We are big A Squid Game fans. B, if you listen to the episode, we talked about Squid Games in context of the two tournaments back to back in Korea. But we went back and forth with a giant international brand. It was super funny, and they at no point were they even did that as like a afterthought hashtag of like hashtag Squid Games is Korean. And we went back at them and said, hey, listen to the full pod. And then they said, hey, now that we're thinking about it, we kind of do like your idea. Why don't we have a bidet fountain outside of our headquarters? Like they had fun with all of this. So
Hmm.
I'm not saying it's the world's best idea, but I'm glad that we did try to engage them. I think, Tom, you might have a future ahead of you as a CMO of a big international toilet company.
So confirm we are not apologizing. We did nothing wrong, correct?
Absolutely not. What would
Okay.
we apologize for?
I just want to confirm we're on the same page.
Tom, you are a chronic apologetic. I think you are very concerned about how people feel. I don't care about anybody. I think we can both agree with that. But no, absolutely not. We had a fun time. We posted a good thing. They didn't do their due diligence. Listen to the pod we were referencing. You might want to be better at your hashtags, but that's just me throwing shade at you on air and more character assassinations
We'll
whenever I can
talk
get
about
them.
this offline.
Yeah.
Okay.
But hey, those ideas are gonna take off. At some point, someone's gonna say, "Hey, these guys are the new age of marketing right here."
Mark,
Just
I made a post
huck and
yesterday. I made
takes
a
from the
post today. I'm
fringe.
on fire.
I saw that. I saw that. All right,
Happy
Tom, bring us
National
home.
Coffee Day to
Okay,
you.
so other than Instagram, where else can people follow us?
You can follow us on X at Fringe Coverage X. And as always, whether you're approaching from the fairway or the rough, we got you covered inside the fringe.